listeners of the randomness of nothing, the beauty of this show is I get a chance to talk to people who have carved out their own path and niche. It's scary, but it's rewarding at the same time. And most importantly, it's their authentic selves. I have Quinn Vasbinder on here, burgeoning actor, entertainer from our West Coast partners over in Oregon here, who's been fortunate enough to get up this early in the morning to talk to me on my show. I'm very honored, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Hey, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
You know, well, the reason I did this show is because, you know, people sometimes only see if I go to college and I follow and play by the rules, then that will lead to the pinnacle of success and happiness. So, but the beauty of this show is I get to talk to the rule breakers, the person that says, you know what, I'm going to be okay with looking a little silly along this way, but it's making me happy doing it. What's that been like when you got into acting?
Oh my gosh, it's definitely incredible. Like you mentioned, it's new, it's scary, but I was never, a school guy myself. Always hated going to class, sitting in a room with no windows, talking about things I don't personally, pursue, but I think an alternative route, performance in the arts, is definitely some of those more my style. Like, yeah, I see you, Shelf. You have a background in martial arts, right? Which is incredible. You would relate to this the most because of the fact that being able to perform, entirely on your own and be able to see your successes based off your skills is been something that the arts have been able to teach me. So that's why I've been pursuing it for sure.
Yeah. You know, one of the scariest things about martial arts, right, and you know this from acting, right, is, you don't just get a black belt off of Amazon and suddenly roll around with it. Like there's clowns and there's people that do that stuff, right? I'll keep this PG, right? But like people don't understand that that's like 10 years of real hard work, right? Or whatever amount of years that it took, right? So when I do martial arts, it's comparable to acting, and I've been an extra in some films, before, nothing big, but to actually put yourself out there and be okay with putting yourself out there, it is a courage that the average person walking down the street doesn't really understand.
I appreciate that.
It really is. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough, man.
No, it's freaky. I mean, like starting off with stage work, right? When I was in Eugene, sitting in front of a bunch of people and trying to be able to memorize script and be able to perform and convince people that I am doing something else with somebody else, right? That's freaky. There's a lot of mistakes that can be made. I mean, I myself have forgotten lines, have messed up screen times, so it's like you don't want to do that, but you got to take the risk. You got to take the risk to do that. That's where the courage you're mentioning comes from. So I appreciate that for sure.
It's crazy because, we get a kick, society gets a kick out of the memes and the viral clips. Oh, the person botched the national anthem. Oh, the fighter got knocked out in the ring. But what's lost in the nuances and all that is the person had the courage to be in there. The person had the courage and before, and I get like, hey, listen, man, I like a good laugh. And believe me, when I watch boxing and martial arts and I'm like, oh man, that's a vicious knockout. But that person put their livelihood and their life on the line to be knocked out. Yes. And they were okay. And they took it on the chin like a man or a woman after it was over. And, they went with all the laughter and they said, hey, you know what? That's part of the game. That's what I signed up for. And there is beauty in the pain that they went through to get to that moment of their lives, because there's a small percentage of people who will do that.
Yes, very true. I like the way you say that, beauty in the pain. I mean, it's a lot of failing, man. You know the deal. Like you're failing your way up to get to the thing you want to do, to be able to be good at whatever it is. And people are afraid to fail. And that's kind of, in my opinion, why people are more actively comfortable and they like being comfortable. And it's about shapes the uncomfortability to be able to get to the things. So that's the kind of situations I try to put myself in. That's why I actually pursued acting, because it was forcing me to get out of my shell to become something else. So yeah, you said that perfectly about the notes for sure.
And I don't know your background, but I can get a feel that if you're like me, like I'm doing this podcast, there's not exactly like the uncle or the grandfather I could have tapped on the shoulder was like, hey, put me on. Hey, help me leapfrog the process to, and I'm not knocking people who have successful people that help them get that's a good thing to have, right? To have somebody who can mentor you along the way. But for the average person who came from Eugene, Oregon, or in my case, Metro Detroit, if you want to get a successful podcast or you want to break into acting, you're like, hey, man, I kind of just got to figure this out on my own, then link up with the right people along the way. And they have to I have to sell myself to get to where I want to be.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of it's self-marketing, right? It's all connections, You're always I've actually recently gotten into sales, and what I've realized is, or at least been taught, everything is like kind of a sales interaction. Every talk, every conversation, you're
Oh yeah,
in a sense selling yourself, right? Making sure that you are somebody that they would want to associate with, and that
yeah.
is huge when it comes to trying to get connections because you
Oh
need
my
people to
gosh.
like you, to want to work with you,
Mm.
to want to keep you, to keep playing you. So it's
Yeah.
all completely true. Actively, it's really difficult, but it's who you know, and you meet a lot of people on the way, so it makes it fun for sure.
Well, it's something as competitive as acting, something as competitive as podcasting, right? So,
Mhm.
even like when I train in martial arts, there's dozens of martial arts schools, right? So it's how you vibe with the instructor, right?
Yeah.
It's how the talent agency or the casting director is gonna vibe with you. If they list the specs, I saw you were 6'1", right? If they list the specs of an African American male 6'1", there's a laundry list of dudes that are gonna fit that exact mold. You are not the only black dude that is 6'1" out there, right? That is, fits this weight. Like, let's be realistic. It has to be something that resonated with them about you. Like my
Yeah.
show, you could ask to go on 1,000 different shows, right? Because I'm not special, I'm not stupid, but there was something about me, I hope, that was like that might work for me.
Yeah. No, it's different for everybody, right? Since I mean, at the end of the day, people want to work with people they like. That's it's
Mm-hmm.
simple as that. People, they fit a part, they fit a role. But if you're not, respectable, if you're not respectful, if you don't mesh with the individual you're talking to or working with, they're just not going to have you around. They're going to find the next guy who's not a problem or
No question.
more of a fit. It's really being kind is what I learned. Being patient and
Yeah.
kind, and being able to actually follow somebody else's process because everyone's a teacher. You're going to learn from everyone. So stay a student. You
No
know what I
question.
mean?
Yeah. And so can you describe what it was like when you went from the stage, like that first time you were up there, like, and then it suddenly became like kind of natural to you where you're like, the first time you're like, oh my God, like, I,
That's
to when you started to kind of like, it started to click like, okay, I'm up here and this is kind of second nature to me. And I'm feeling comfortable.
absolutely. So it was actually my first performance. First play I ever went to was over at a place called the Very Little Theater. Like it says, it's kind of a very little theater. We cut like 30, 40, 50 seats maximum. But I never really pursued acting in that sense. So this first performance was like free. This was scary as hell. Excuse my French, but
It's all
being
good.
able to get on stage, right? After about the first 3 months of rehearsals, I was,
Yeah.
got my lines down and everything. Still, you know, terrified to be in front of people, but the first night, kind of quiet stage, kind of quiet crowd, but got the
Yeah.
jitters out, getting the blood flow. The
Yeah.
second night, kind of the same thing, a little more flow. But the third night, because it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every
Yep.
weekend. Third
Yep.
night was definitely when it started to really click for me. I started to really be able to hit my lines in a manner that was like on time, that was
Yeah.
making me more comfortable, and I could feel the crowd, they're reacting to it more, and
Oh my God.
having a crowd being able to actually like be affected by what you're saying on stage, that's how you're
Mm.
like really saying something, you're actually doing it right, and then
Yeah.
you're really starting to feed off the energy. I feel like as soon as I started really getting the reps in, as any
Mhm.
sport or any performance, you start getting more comfortable with it. So
Yeah.
about the third time on stage, fourth is really starting to flow more, feel better,
Mhm.
and that's when I really started to get that itch,
Yeah.
that entertainment to just really love doing it, and I just haven't gone back since.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I related to with martial arts. I'm glad you brought that up earlier, man. Because like the first time, you're in there sparring, right? You're in there, you act, right? You're doing your lines, you're training, and then the first time you're really sparring, you're getting clocked, and you're like, I don't know how to react. My training didn't, what the heck was that? And then all of a sudden, you're like, you get loose. I've done this before. Listen, I'm not a professional fighter. I am far from being like I want to measure my skill set of where I'm at. But if I'm a black belt in karate, I'm a brown belt in taekwondo, and I've taken a couple different styles, Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu is my weakest one because it's my newest one. But in the other three, I can get in there and I can be respectable against somebody of equal skill level, or maybe even a little bit better than mine. I've been in there with really good people, but you know what to do. right? And you
Yeah.
can sit back and say, okay, I may not be, I can, or to, for lack of a better term, I can get through this, right?
Oh yeah.
And to like, it's like, acting, you've gotten enough repetition to where if you feel like the performance is going some kind of way, or you start reading the body language of that actor, even if they might be messing up, you may know how to pivot to make it look like the audience doesn't know that that's happening, right?
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of like when you get in that groove, you can make it look natural, like what's going on.
Yeah, no, a lot more improv. It leaves a lot more room for creativity and being in the arts in a way like that, being able to have that creative outlet has been super helpful for me in more ways than I can tell. Yeah, you're really spot on with that one for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you're a testament to getting out of your own head. So like what was that moment where you were like, "Hey man, if I don't pursue this, this moment might pass me by." Cuz I'm curious about that. You said you were only doing it 3 or 4 years ago. So was it like, "I need to do this because I'm going to have regrets," kind of a deal?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. I was always performing in the sports side of things with basketball and football for years, all throughout high school. Actually, it was I was attempting to try and go to college for basketball, but
Mhm.
training happened right during COVID, and that have shut everything
Oh
down. Of
man,
course,
jeez.
opportunities just dropped. But finding an alternative way to get my energy out, right? I've always wanted to be an actor as a kid, and I didn't know how exactly to pursue that. But my
Right.
mom, she was on a stage when she first moved to Eugene herself, which was the Very Little Theater, and she's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
you want to do this thing so badly. You're getting all these signs, seeing things, uh, on your Instagram feed being popping up. People
Yeah.
just mention it to you, passing out of random, right? Just random signs. Like the universe might be saying, hey, just go do it. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
go
yeah,
do it."
yeah.
And then it started to get that itch a little bit more. Like, hey, like I've always wanted to. These
Yeah.
signs are coming to me. My mom is clearly knowledgeable on it. Like, why not just go and attack this thing? Because I read this book. I think it was Will Smith's biography. He's stated like, the most beautiful things are on the other side of fear. And so I was like, hey, I got to go
Boy.
attack this and then do it to make sure that I'm learning what I should be and doing what I should be. And that was when it started. Yeah, just about that point right there.
I think what also holds people back to a degree, I do the podcast, so I have the little luxury of not remembering a script like you do, right? But I think, and thank God for that, because oh man, yeah, I'd be replaced in a heartbeat. I'll tell you that right now. But like one of the beauties of doing that is sometimes people don't seem to understand is that the people they see successful come from the Eugene, Oregons. They come from like, oh man, I'm in a small town of 3,000 people, man. I'm not gonna try that because they're never gonna notice somebody like me in the middle. Like that is such a defeated attitude to what you're
Yeah.
capable of, because you start out at that small theater, you start doing more acting gigs, they film stuff everywhere. They have virtual auditions, right? I have a PR rep that's in Los Angeles and I'm in Metro Detroit, right? So like this idea that, especially in the technological era, I'm butchering that word, the computer era, whatever we want to call it,
Yeah.
that you're restricted. It was much harder back then because people were like, they maybe not be able to drive halfway across the country and drop everything they're doing.
Yep. No, yeah. It's making it a lot easier for sure. I mean, you can do Zoom self tapes all the time. You're talking to people over online like we're doing right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's everything is more accessible. So like
Yes.
somebody just decides to, I mean, when someone chooses not to do something, it's a choice, right?
Yes.
If you're choosing to not to fail, then you're just avoiding the obstacle.
Yep. Yep.
And I was reading this one book. I think it was like some Stoic philosophy, but it was talking about how the obstacle is the way. The obstacle
Yes.
becomes the way. You're looking for something, you need to do the hard thing that you're trying to avoid to be able to get to that objective. And a
Right.
lot of people are afraid to fail, and they'd rather avoid that, even though it's more accessible.
Yeah.
It, unfortunately, to say, it does make it a little bit easier for me, so that people get disqualified, so I get the job. But
Well,
it
here's
is
and people like have to understand that even the most successful of actors still lose out on coveted roles, right?
yeah.
So like Henry Cavill didn't get selected for James Bond, right? Like everybody and their mother knows who Henry Cavill is, right? So like some of the most, now in the rarefied air of the Tom Cruises, the Will Smiths, the John Travoltas, they don't have to audition for stuff, right? Like, but if you're talking about people who are even some well-established people, when there are roles that are coveted, they have hundreds, thousands of people that they are considering. Unless you're Robert De Niro or Al Pacino, at their peak of their careers, even though they're older now, you have to be prepared, and you have to be prepared for rejection. You have to be prepared for not being selected. You have to be, but the one, and I don't want to overtalk you, because of the streaming era, there's more opportunities, probably, I'm guessing, than ever before. Is that accurate?
I would say so. It makes it easier for sure. Definitely having availabilities from all other places, right? I mean, you got people from in LA, New York, and all kinds of locations. It definitely gives you more volume, but there is the kind of the issue of not having that face-to-face connection with the individual you're wanting to work with. So it kind of it makes it a little less, substance. It's hard to play off with an audition, but it does give you the option and opportunity to do more of it without having to travel everywhere, which is nice. So it's kind of a give and take kind of scenario.
Do you have to? Are there new skills that you picked up because you sit back and say, okay, this is the demand in the industry? Excuse me. Like, okay, stunt work. Maybe I need to work on stunt work. Maybe I need to work on, singing or dancing. Are there things that you have to pick up because you're like, this could make me more well-rounded and better opportunity to be in the industry for certain types of roles?
Yeah. Specifically, one of them was I actually started boxing recently, about a couple
That's
of
a
months
brutal,
ago.
such a tough sport.
It's brutal, man. It's
Such
brutal.
a
Like,
tough sport.
yeah. No, I was like rubbing like makeup on my stuff because I got the black eye from sparring before. But no, it's definitely thing like more athletic pursuits. Like
Yeah.
boxing, singing and dancing has been something that I've been trying to dip my toes in for. Never done music before. Always wanted to try it.
Yeah.
But activities that keep me active, keep me in shape, have been things that I prioritize,
Yeah.
because that's just kind of what I've always had. And it kind of
For
just
sure.
keeps natural. So, yeah, activities like that definitely have been something I've been pursuing just to add to my resume and add to my
Yeah.
experience. After a few interviews that I've seen,
Yeah.
people who are in the business, top tier actors, to become a better actor, just to live life and experience those things, try those experiences, because then you can add it to a character. So it's just be around
Yeah.
and do things.
It could even be something like firearms training, right? Maybe something you
Yes.
even have to, you might have to learn, you might have to learn firearms training. You might have to learn, weapons. Like, perfect example is boxing, right? Like, to be on like that, I don't think the average person really understands how hard boxing really is. Like, to not get hit, to get hit, to learn how to punch, the stamina that's involved with it. I do boxing at the gym that I go to, and I did it when I was younger, and it is a monster of a sport. It is very. People
Yeah.
who've never been blasted in the face have no idea what that's really like. You have, if you've never been punched in boxing, you have no clue how painful that truly is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. It's
What
a learning
advice do
experience.
what advice do you have for up and comers that are trying to break into the industry, that are from the small town, that are on the fence because they're scared?
I would say that if there is somebody that has done something you're looking to do, whether it be acting, I mean, in this specific scenario, and you see him do it, that means that you're capable of the same thing.
Right.
My dad was in the army. They used
Yeah.
to say that if you can see if the man in front of you can do it, that means you can do it too. So it's not an impossibility.
Right.
People try and disassociate the work that an individual put in from the product that they made, since they're on a huge screen and
Right.
they're idolized in a way. So it seems, at a distance, very hard to be
Yeah.
able to see yourself in. You want that, but you don't think you're
Absolutely.
doing that,
Absolutely.
right? But they're
Right.
just a person like you are. Anybody is anybody and everybody is everybody. So be somebody,
Yeah.
make yourself, just do it.
Yeah, it's funny because when the beginning of wanting to start a podcast, I was like, and it was, I'll tell this, and you know this from acting, nobody's going to give you a break if you're sitting on your couch. There's nothing, if you're hoping while you're sitting there eating popcorn, watching TV, watching the sun go up and then the sun set, and you're like, man, I hope I can get a break. I'm telling you right now, man, you're wishing upon a shooting star. Like, that's just the honest to God. You might as well go to a wishing well and throw some change in it, because that's about the only thing that's going to good happen to you. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's the raw, uncut truth about
Yeah.
not doing anything.
Yeah. No,
From
inactivity and inaction is definitely going to be just self-destructive. It's not going to,
Yep.
you're sitting comfortable, you're not pursuing the things you're getting on happen. The miracles of life don't happen on the couch, man. They happen out there.
Yep.
So you're completely correct.
Right. And your industry in particular is so competitive, and that, I mean, you probably have met. It's always crazy to me, because I've talked to actors, and obviously, my kids do acting and small plays and things like that. The amount of talented people that aren't megastars is amazing. You'll find people that are classically trained pianists, ballet
Yeah.
dancers, world class martial artists, and you'll be like, perfect example, not to overtalk you. You look at a guy like Michael Jai White, world class martial artist, and still isn't the biggest movie star in the world. Good looking guy, 6'3", built like a tank, and even he, at the pinnacle of his career, is still like not a megastar.
Yeah. Then I was actually watching an interview with Josh Brolin. He played Thanos in Endgame,
Yeah,
but he was kind of mentioning that. He was talking
yeah,
about how he's seen individuals who weren't the best of their careers have incredible careers, and people who are
yes,
incredibly talented have no career at all. And
yeah,
that's kind of, yeah, it's tough. It's like you don't. It's hard to try and pursue this thing that you want to pursue without visualizing you being at this, pinnacle that you want to be at. But at
right,
the end of the day, what I've learned from acting classes, acting is acting regardless of where you're doing it, whether it's
beautiful,
Spider-Man in a Marvel film or
yeah,
Shakespeare in the Park. Like you want to be an actor, just act. Go into
right,
class and audition is it in and
right,
of itself doing exactly what you're doing. So enjoy what you're
beautiful.
doing while you're doing it, and the rewards will be reaped and they will provide for you and be attracted to you by doing so. That's what I'm trying to do anyway.
It, it's the same thing I say with this podcast. I had to be a good podcast, or attempt to be the best version of the podcast host, regardless of who is listening, regardless of the audience size. I had to be a good host because, whoever you started off with in acting and then who dropped off because of various reasons, they weren't getting things, life got in the way, but you stuck it out. Now, you have an IMDb page and you've had some films and film work. So what'll start happening is that people will eventually drop off, and then maybe like that audition size goes from 1,000 to 500 to 50 to 25 because you kept coming, and people recognize you. Like, hey, man, this guy's been coming back for the last year and a half. He got better at his craft. And now that 6'1" dude we saw earlier is the guy that I'm looking for.
That's what I'm hoping for, man. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, you have you built yourself a platform yourself, which is incredible, doing it day in, day out, regardless of the strife. And so that's really respectable. You know what you're talking about. You're doing it exactly just like I. Well done.
Yeah. Again, I just have the fortunate distinction of not having a script because God help me.
That's hilarious stuff.
Yeah,
Shoot.
man, I'm 5'8", man. I can't fake it. I can't fake no height like that. There's no angle they can put on me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't happening, and I'm not Wesley Snipes, you know what I mean? So, like, ain't
Of
gonna be no
course.
sub 5. I'm at a deficiency. That's why I did this.
Oh
You
man,
know
that's wicked.
where can we find Quinn Vasbinder? What projects are upcoming, and how can we continue to see you eventually headlining major films and shows?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm working on a few short films right now, but primarily I'm looking to try and increase my modeling and acting portfolio with stage work as well over in Portland. So trying to figure out exactly where that looks like. I got an agent trying to connect here and there, so it's kind of just find what I can find right now with
Yeah.
uh, short films with
Mhm.
commercials, and then he'll bring me stuff. And so it's just audition for everything, see everything. Hopefully, pretty soon I'll be in a starring role for something like a TV show or a movie. So we're
Yeah.
just fingers crossed, making stuff happen as we can.
Yeah, well, it's I it would be so cool to have interviewed you, and in 2026, and then next in 2027, 28. I'm like, I caught this guy at the right time because he probably would never have got a chance to be on my show now because you got to go through Columbia Pictures and the rep, and what I'm saying, like, but I'm honored that you reached out because
Mhm.
there is beauty in starting out. I'm 43, man, and it finally clicked at a certain age that I'm like, it's better to start and look foolish than to have doubts about what could have been.
Yes. No, the regret of not starting is a lot less than the regret, or no, it's a lot more than the regret of failure. You know, you try,
100%.
like
100%.
continue to try until you keep going. So it's yeah, no, make sure you're trying to do some, make sure you're creating some, because otherwise you're just sitting stagnant and you're not living to the way you should be living. You know?
Yeah, and for the people who are listening, the boopers, the naysayers, the negative attitude people, man, listen, man, like those people are the absolute anchor of your life, and you need to stay. You can love them.
Yeah.
You can see them at the family barbecue, and you can say hi to them. But like, if that's the attitude that they have around you, because their misery will rub off on you.
Yeah, no, energy is, yeah, you gotta keep your energy clear. People can be what is the energy vampires, I call it. Yeah, you gotta keep the people who are gonna make you better, you know, close, and
Yep,
those who wanna see them, keep them at arm's length. Make sure
100%.
got your circle. That's all you need.
I always ask this of every guest: where can people find you?
I have Instagram at Vasbinder Quinn, on Facebook, Quinn Vasbinder as well. I'm looking to get my IMDb up more updated as well with that for my acting portfolio.
Mhm.
Um, Other than that, yeah, I'm trying to build more things for myself, and it's coming along as it comes. So we're going to be plugging it in shortly for sure.
Well, like I said, man, I wish you all the continued success. I'm so honored that you reached out to my show and there was something that resonated with what I'm doing that, made us vibe. I always try to have a respectful conversation. We obviously had a really good rapport before, and I hope it continues after, man. I'm looking forward to see you on the next Netflix or Paramount show, you know.
Hey, I'm looking forward to coming back here, my friend. Appreciate you having me. Okay.
And listen, man, if, whatever the role may be, I know you're going to crush it. So
Thank
it's
you,
an honor
brother.
and
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. Hey, likewise. God bless you, sir.
Yeah, thank you as well. Quinn Vasbinder on the Randomness of Nothing podcast, where we talk to people who took the risk, believed in themselves, and were willing to stick things out when other people weren't. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That was a lot of fun, man. Thank you.